Mute. Oh, sorry, unmute. Oh, sorry. Somehow seems like people don't have speak permission here.
Yeah, hi, Malhar. Sorry.
Hey, okay. I think there was some permission issue fuck up that I fixed now. So yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Ravi.
Yeah, actually, I'm much more interested in AAA gaming titles to work on actually. So that's the reason I have asked that question. So, how basically the AAA title project will be pitching into this project, guys? Actually, means how will they get funding and how will they how will they explain their story or something like that? Means based on which basis they will give the funding. And once more, and one more thing, who will invest in that funding process? Yeah.
So I think just a quick sort of a clarifying question. Like, do you specifically care about only AAA, or do you care about just generally getting funding for a game project?
Uh, any project means any big type of project will be there, right? So like PUBG or something like that. Any good kind of projects will be there, right? So that's the reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know how much money you would need potentially if you are looking out for funding for such a large project? What kind of money would you raise?
Uh, no, actually, I have no idea about that. That's why I have asked it.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody know if they have to raise funding for say a AAA project? What exactly uh, would be the quantum of money? Anyone? Wait, no one.
A random guess, sir, like depending on the scope. Just imagining a game like say PUBG, we have multiplayer, so it depends on game to game because multiplayer needs servers, then cost goes up. So anywhere around 8 to 10 crore, maybe like
8 to 10 crores. So million, 1 million, 1.5 million, something like that. Okay.
yes, sir, something like that.
Anyone else? Any other guesses? How much funding would you really need for a AAA project or a fairly large scale project, high quality? No. Does anybody know how does normally funding for a tech product works? Not a game product specifically, but a tech product. Vijay, do you want to add something? Like nobody here is generally familiar with just how the funding ecosystem works, broader in the tech ecosystem. Anyone? You can, in case somebody has like an issue on sort of unmuting or etc. background noise, whatever, just use the text channel. I can see Parvesh saying that no idea. Okay, so broadly, when we talk about funding, right? Like at the end of the day, if somebody is putting money into something, right, they expect to make a return, right? That's the bottom line, right? At the end of the day, they still want to make some money back by putting in money. Otherwise, why would they, right? It's not charity, right? At the end of the day, they're investing in a business, in a project, right? So there is financial outcome at stake, right? So when you talk about the broader sort of a game project funding ecosystem, right? So somebody has shared Nikhil's video. I haven't checked it out, but definitely check it out. I'm sure it'll be something good as well. Um, but from a broader context perspective, that you need to showcase that whatever you're doing, whether it's a tech product or a game product, right? Uh, how will you eventually make money from it, right? How will you eventually raise capital, use that capital as leverage, and then in turn return more money back to the investors. Right?
Okay, I'm not really sure, sir, but I think since I have watched Nikhil sir's videos on YouTube, I think you may have to find some investors, clients, to generate some money. And sometimes it also depends on the game, what game you're trying to make. So, for example, let's say if it's Grand Theft Auto 5, which is the biggest game, and it took a lot of money.
Yeah, GTA, right?
GTA, yes.
Yeah. Do you know how much money it took to build GTA, the latest one?
More than, I think, more than 1,000, oh, more than 100 million. I'm not really sure. I cannot
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was
call
somewhere
it
around
100
200 to $250 million,
somewhere. Yes.
something in that range. Yeah. But then do
So
you know how much GTA made?
I think it was 150 million. I'm not really sure. It was like a long time back, like a long time ago,
No,
2015.
no, no.
And
So GTA made $1 billion in the first 6
oh, okay, okay,
weeks.
yes,
No, no, listen to this, right? GTA made $1 billion, which is 4 times of what they spend in making. So the game was in development for I think 5 or 6 years, right? So across
mhm.
those 5 or 6 years, they spent about cumulatively some $250 million or something. Okay, and they
Okay,
made 4 times of that. And obviously, my figures might be a little bit wrong, but this is just something what I remember from the last 4 or 5 years whenever the game came out.
mhm.
Uh, but it made $1 billion in just one weekend, launch weekend. So Friday the game launched. By Sunday night, they had made already $1 billion, which is 4x the amount of money, right? And then obviously it has gone to become a mega blockbuster and has sold much more after that as well, right?
It did.
So yeah, it's a definitely a money making proposition if you already have a hit title on hand, right? GTA was
Yes,
already a well proven series. It wasn't a new game.
it
It
was.
came from a company that had no track record in the industry, right? It is a
Yes,
well established company that has been running for decades. GTA has already been a very popular series, and the game came out.
and people were waiting for GTA 5 already when
People
they
were
saw the trailer.
dying for it. People were dying for it, right? Because the game hadn't come out in like 6, 7 years. There was, I think, a gap of 6, 7 years or more. And obviously, if you have a fan base and game comes out after such a long time, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
such a big blockbuster, right? Naturally, you will have something massive going. But I think broadly, right? So there are two sort of different broad ways of trying to go about funding, right? Going to sort of the original question, right?
yes,
Like I think how you mentioned as well, referencing Nikhil's video, um, in India, way number one or approach number one, which is, hey, I'm going to start doing something for clients, which is basically I'm going to open up a service studio where we'll take in client projects, have a small team, and start first making money by fulfilling the needs of clients, right? Not customers, client, right?
mhm.
These clients are either other companies, individuals who are looking to get games built, etc. And that gives a kickstart to the revenue generation engine, right? So you can have, say, like a team of 5, 7 folks, couple of them artists, designers, blah blah blah, and maybe some client. You are based in India where the cost of development is lower, but then you are servicing the needs of a customer based in Europe or US, and you will be charging them higher, right? So there is a gap in terms of what you're charging versus what you're paying for costs, right? Your employees, office cost, infrastructure, laptops, blah, 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 right? So there
Exactly.
is whatever is left in between, that becomes the company's profit. And then you invest that profit into setting up maybe a different team that can work on building a new game, right? Because if you can imagine like a game that you're trying to build, like not a GTA that takes 6 years and 500 people, right? But imagine a small game as well, right? A mid-core casual game, etc. That might take 3 months at least to get out, right? And you need 3, 4 people to work on it, right? So that is still 4 people for 3 months, effectively 12-month hours invested in that game. Now something has to pay for those salaries and fees and office cost, etc., right? So you can either self fund the game building process by first doing client work, right? And that way you get to control your own destiny. If let's say you are the owner of the studio, right? You get to say, I'm going to work with these clients and I'm not going to work with the other clients. And this is what I'm going to charge. And this is what I'm going to get paid. This is how much I'm going to pay my team. And this is how much profit I'm going to keep and invest that profit into another team, maybe a smaller team that's starting to build a kind of a game that I want. right? An RPG game or a fighting game or whatever, right? So through this way, you have 100% control over your own destiny because you don't have any external investor yet, right? You are the 100% owner of the business and you decide to say, okay, this is what we want to do with the profits. This month, I don't want to put the profits into the company. I just want to take profits for myself. You can do that because at the end of the day, you are your own boss, right? But you're responsible for all the decisions. So this is traditionally what is called as a self-funding model or a revenue generating model, right? Where you're generating revenue from one side and using that to fund the game development on the other side, right? The game development from a product perspective, not for satisfying the needs of a client. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions on this so far? Anything that's not clear here?
No, no questions right now. I mean, not related to funding thing. But I have a question related to game designing, since
So do
it
one
is something.
do
Hmm?
one thing, just drop the question in the event chat. Uh, like I'll let other folks vote on it because it's a slightly different question if you're saying, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let's finish this funding question because that was the most voted question in the
Sure,
event.
sure, sure.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah. Okay, cool. So the other model, which is slightly more, well, actually much more popular in the broader tech ecosystem as well as in the Western ecosystem, is that without having to work for clients, you actually go and ask somebody, hey, this is what I plan to make. This is how much we are planning to sell it for. And this is how much we'll be able to make money down the somebody has background noise, putting them on server mute. So this is what some like we will be able to make this much time we will need. So basically, you prepare like an Excel sheet, a business model, a presentation, that whatever game that you're planning to make, why do you think this will be successful, right? Is there another reference that you can look at that can say that okay, somebody did something similar, you're trying to do something similar, you will be able to do this and this and market the game to the customers, um, and you'll be able to acquire customers who will be paying for your game, right? So if you're able to showcase that to somebody, right, an individual or a group of individuals, right, and potentially ask them to directly put money in your project or in your company, right, without having to work for clients, you can raise capital and use that capital to then pay for the cost of the game building thing, right? But here, sort of, there are two different nuances. One, you can either raise capital for a project, and here, if somebody has here somebody heard of like what a publisher is, a game publisher? Does anybody know? Yes? No?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Ketchups.
Yeah, Ketchup is a fun example. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any other? Any other publishers that you might have heard of or just generally aware of what a publisher is? No?
EA and Ubisoft.
Yeah, EA and Ubisoft are publishers as well. But can you go to EA to get your own game published?
No.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, yeah. They're very selective and they work with studios that are directly under them. So there are different kinds of publishers as well. But broadly, when you are asking somebody to put money in your game directly, or rather put money uh, in you or your team to start building the game, right? So that either falls under the category of either a publisher or an investor. And there are big differences between the two. Okay. So when you're talking to a publisher, right, some of the publishers will give you money to continue building the project once you have built the initial version, right? And there are other publishers that might give you money just based on the idea and say, okay, here are $100,000, right? Go build the game in the next 6 months. We like the idea, we like the concept, we like the prototype that you made. Go build it, right? But players like Voodoo, Ketchup, once you build the game out, right? They'll put that game after initial review, they'll put that game out on the market, right? And then put marketing behind it, an investment behind it to promote this game and through ads and acquire customers. But you will have to do the initial effort to somehow get the game out and build it, right? So publishers also have different ways of working, but Lion Studios is one that if they like a prototype, they will give you, I think, $200,000, which is about 1.5 crores, right? And then they'll say that, okay, take this money and go complete your game in the next 3 to 6 months, right? So you use that money to complete that game, and then they will publish that game, right? They'll put it out onto Play Store, App Store, Steam Store, whatever platform it belongs to, and put marketing money behind it. And when they're giving you this money, they'll put a contract in place that will say, okay, once the game starts to make money, who gets how much, right? So if your game starts to make money, say $100,000 every month, the publisher might keep 70% of that, and the developer gets 30%, right? So all those terms would be flushed out or set up as part of the contract when they're giving you that money, right? So here there's like a publisher based model for raising investment for your game project. But one big nuance difference here is that a publisher puts money not in a company, but in a project. A company might make multiple projects, but they'll probably take a bet only on a project, right? So if you are a game studio of 2, 3 people, today you take a good game to Voodoo, they like it and they decide to publish it, right? And you start getting money from them. If you make the next game, if you are good, you might get another deal, but chance there's no guarantees as such, right? So whatever you are able to make slash get, you're not able to uh, necessarily continue that contract with them. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So so a publisher, the biggest thing that you need to remember is right, a publisher will most likely put money in a game project, but not in a business, not in a company, right? So that's one big difference. And then there is another class of investors, typically known as venture capitalists, angel investors, etc. Right? You might have heard of these terms if you're following like tech news articles, etc., etc. Right? So there, they will invest in a company, not in a project, because they realize that projects can come and go. But if it's a good team and a good company, they will continue to build good quality games in the long run, right? So they will not take profits out of the company just because your game starts to make money, right? So if today I'm an investor in Supercell, imagine that, right? If I'm an investor in Supercell and suddenly Clash Royale starts to make $1 billion a month, I don't get shit out of it. I only have stocks in that company. Very much how you might actually go and buy stocks on a stock market, right? So here I'm investing in the long-term success of the company, and I get to make money when I sell my shares and stocks in that company, not in the projects. So if Supercell makes 5 games and each of them are making millions of dollars a month, I don't, like a publisher, I don't get any 70%, 30% split out of it, right? So those are sort of three predominant ways. One, just to recap, a self-funded way where you start working for yourself, working for clients, making money through there. Second, you start uh, building something small, take it to publishers, see if you can get investment for a project, but they will get some part of the revenue and future profits as part of the contract. And third, where you take money from angel investors and VCs, venture capitalists who are investing in game companies, brackets, not projects, and they will take some ownership shares of your company, some percentage ownership, right? Anything between 25% to 30, 35%, etc. Right? Depending on what stage they're investing in, how much money they're investing in, so on and so forth. And you will basically give over control of your company to them, but not share profits with them until the company gets sold or somebody major comes in and buys it, or you start becoming a public company altogether so that anybody can buy your stocks, on the stock market. So those are sort of the broader ways of how funding works in the long run. Yeah. I think this is one big monologue. Anyone else wants to add anything? Yep. Anything that did make sense here? Anything that anybody did not understand?
So like as a whole, like because the game is not launched, right? So how can you like exactly calculate how much revenue it would get back if it's a fairly new idea? So then how can you majorly look at the product and say, okay, this might cost this much eventually. So that is.
I mean, this is slightly more. Does anybody know an answer to that? Like, if you have a new product or a new game, you don't know how much money it will make eventually. How can you predict that? Anyone? Any thoughts? No. Anyone here from finance background by any chance? Anyone studied finance?
Sir, like while thinking again, so is it like building a say MVP and putting it up in the market and looking at the traction and then predicting? But that might be very flawed.
Yeah. No, it's not that you put out a small product out there, because a small product means you have to build something first, right? Which means that you have to have some money or some team to start building it in the first place, right? Okay. So broadly, there is a big field called financial forecasting. But here, what that essentially means is that you're trying to look at close enough references in the market and have some estimation, some logical estimation and formulas to say um, how much you can potentially grow and how much you can potentially make money, say in 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, right? Obviously, these are hypothetical things that you're putting down in an Excel sheet as formulas, right? But that's usually the way, right? And at the end of the day, a lot of investors understand that this is hypothetical in nature, as long as there is logical sense behind it, right? For example, if today you're starting to build a game and you say, I'm going to get the game ready in 6 months, right? In 6 months, we'll launch it into 1 or 2 countries, initially test it out, and then in month 9, we are going to go global and launch everywhere after 3 months of testing, right? And then you'll say that, okay, in 6 months when we launch, between month 6 and month 9, when we are live only, say, in Australia, right? Just one country, Australia, we'll make $10,000 a month, right? But after we launch everywhere, right, we'll suddenly start making $100 million a month. Seems illogical, right? How will suddenly you make this much money unless you are already a GTA, right? Because you will take time to run your marketing, ad campaign, acquire customers, and all that, right? So a lot of the times it's future estimation, but then a lot of this future estimation is based on basic logic, right? So if your estimations are way off, yeah, the other person can also is smart enough to understand bullshit, right? So they'll be able to smell the bullshit. Yep. Unless there's background noise, I'm putting you on server mute. I just mute yourself, please. Yep. Does that make sense? Hello?
Sir, like your voice is cutting in and coming in like in
Yep.
pieces.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of bad weather here. It's been raining, etc. So that might be causing the fluctuation. Yep. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay,
We can
cool.
hear you.
Okay. Anything else on this gaming question or this funding question broadly? Wait, I forgot who asked this. Ravi, I think. Yeah, Ravi.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question.
Mhm.
So how if I want some funding, okay, from investors, how from where should I start looking investors for?
Good question. So if I have to raise funding, how and where should I start looking?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Anyone? Any thoughts? What should you do if you have like a basic system, a basic plan already laid out? You know what kind of a game you want. You know how much money you want to raise. What kind of minimal viable game you want to build out. So if you know all that information, now you just have to start reaching out to people and talking about it. How should you go about it? Does anyone have any ideas? Oh, by the way, I missed one. Anvesh mentioned, good point, Anvesh. He mentioned, what are your thoughts on crowdfunding? Yeah, I can cover that in a bit. Hmm.
I think there's one way we can look for investors. Shark Tank India. I think we can go there and we can pitch our idea to them. But I'm not
Fair
really
enough.
sure.
Yeah, those are also investors, just that they're in the category called as angel investors.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's
So yeah, so like I mentioned, right, like investors would be like angels or venture capitalists. Those are usually the two broad buckets. Angels usually means individuals, and Shark Tank is a good example. Thanks for bringing that up. Uh, Shark Tank is where you get to meet like 5 or 6 angels at one time and pitch them your concept. Whether it's at the prototype stage, whether it's not even build anything, or you already have a successful business, right? So you can go to an angel to get money as well, and they'll be most likely putting in their personal money, right? So that's one way. But essentially, like as with all things, started Google, right? Google for who are some top angel investors investing in gaming in your region, right? Like if I'm from Mumbai, I'll first search in Mumbai region and Maharashtra region who are the topmost angel investors. Maybe I can go set up a meeting with them in person. Then I'll broaden the search area and say, what are the top angel investors investing in India first, and specifically in game companies, right? So with anything, always start with Google, right? That's the best way because you'll start to get information regarding who's in the market, what are they doing. You will find their websites. Some will have even lists of their portfolio companies, like the companies that they're invested in, also made public. So you can go reach out to their founders of those companies and understand what was the process like getting an investment from that investor, right? Understand what did this investor really care about? Did they care about having a very good product? Did they have care about more about financials and having very sound, solid financial projections? Every investor at the end of the day is an individual or a firm, right? So they will have their own criteria of evaluating what you call as a deal, right? DEAL, deal. So anytime you approach an angel investor, you're not the only one who's approaching that angel investor or a fund or a VC fund, right? Multiple other people like you and founders and would be reaching out to them. So the way they refer to it is they call it as a deal, an investment deal, right? So they're getting multiple deals and they're trying to evaluate which ones are the best ones to invest in because they also have a limited pool, both of money and time that they can invest, right? So generally they evaluate on some criteria, right? And that criteria would vary for everybody, right? How they look at things, what they evaluate, what their perspective is, and how their perspective has been shaped up over years, right? So you start with Google first. That's the most obvious no-brainer one, right? From there, from Google, you go on to going deeper into, communities that might be focused around angel investing, VC investing, etc. Right? You might get connections there as well. You can look up if you're first time doing this, right? Then it's even harder because it just takes a lot of time. But if you're doing this for the first time, you can take participate in competitions. So there are investment competitions that would give you investment of like 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs if you win that competition. And competition would have different criterias, right? So some, let's say, Reliance is investing into 5G infrastructure or their Geo platform, and now they're running a competition for Geo glasses to get game concepts onto their platform. And they might run an open competition for a month and accept participation participants to put in entries for their games to be get published on the Geo glasses platform. And whoever wins those competition, the top three winners might get some cash reward, right? And this is like a grant. If you win it, you just get to keep the money and do whatever the fuck you want with it, right? It's not necessarily tied to any constraints or conditions, right? Or you don't have to give anything back in return. So sometimes you might have to give back in return. In like my Reliance Geo example, they might ask you to actually complete the game and actually publish on the Geo Glasses platform or something else, right? Because that was the core purpose of getting good games onto their platform. So from those reasons, right, like those are very sort of low hanging fruits that you can tap into. You have to do a lot of LinkedIn as well, right? You can look at Angel List, um, which are dedicated platforms dedicated towards funding and the ecosystem around that, right? So you'll find a lot of investors have a profile on Angel List. You'll find a lot of investors have mentioned themselves as investors, angels, VCs on their LinkedIn profile. So you can search for them there as well, right? And try to reach out to them, send them emails, send them LinkedIn messages, etc. Right? So those are usually what you're referred to as cold reach out. Basically, you're going in blind. They don't know you, you don't know them. You just found out some public information on Google, LinkedIn, Coursera, YouTube, not Coursera, sorry, Angel List, YouTube, other blogs, some website, etc. And you figure out that hey, let's try to reach out to this person and see if they're interested in what I'm going to build, right? That's what is referred to as cold. When your messages reach them, they don't know who this person is, right? So it's called as a cold message. On the other hand, you can take a slightly longer route and do what is called as a warm introduction, right? So imagine if somebody has invested in a company and like you already know that you want to reach out to an XYZ investor and you know that these are the 10 companies that they have invested in, right? Or are an active investor in, whether angel, whether VC, doesn't matter, right? So now you basically reach out to the founders of those companies, get to know the founders, explain your vision to those founders, and ask for a introduction with their investors, right? This is what is referred to as a warm introduction, right? So if Outscale has an investor and tomorrow you come to me and ask that, hey man, can I get an introduction to your XYZ investor because I see that they're investing in kind of the projects that I'm going to build as well. So there might be some good mutual synergy. Would you be open to introducing me to them? Right. And that's how you try to get in a warm introduction. And warm introductions are the best way for them to get on a call and give you time. Because if I am a person who this investor has invested in, they already have trust on me. And if I'm telling them, hey, this XYZ person that I know is also building something that you should check out, I think it'll be interesting investment opportunity for you, they will take a look, right? Even if they're not interested, they will still take a look and reply. But in the first approach, when you're doing a cold email, they will 99% not even reply back, right? If they're not really interested in what you're doing, right? Or even if they're interested in, but your communication or your value proposition or your business model or your presentation is not really world class, they might not even reply. It's like, yeah, I get like 100 of these. I don't have to reply, right? My time is more important. So getting a warm introduction is always going to be better. And the same approach actually applies to even a job scenario, just FYI, right? So if you know that, okay, I want to get a job at Uber as an SD1, right? If you know an SD1 and SD2, somebody, right? The concept of referrals inside jobs, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with it, right? So why do people ask for a referral, right? This warm introduction is nothing but a referral, just not from a team member, but from a founder of a company that they've already invested in, right? So you can sit and spam LinkedIn apply, Naukri apply all day, but if you get two recommendations from stellar people to their engineering managers that say, hey, manager, this person I know, we were batchmates in college or we worked together in the previous job, and I think he's really kick ass or she's really kick ass. We should consider her or him for a role in our company or in our team. They'll 99% bypass everything and get this person to the front of the line, right? That's how referrals work. That's how recommendations work. That's how warm introductions work. Yeah. So those are usually ways to go about trying to find an investor. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure who asked. I forgot. Sorry. Yeah. Can somebody confirm if that answers yes, no? Okay. I'm guessing I'm going to take that as a yes. Tanya, can you explain your question? I just saw it in the chat. So if things don't go well or the project doesn't get completed on time, what happens in those scenarios? So which scenario are you talking about? Which kind of investment? Because we talked about a lot of different investments, right? Wait, what? You don't have permission to speak? That's odd. 1 second. Let me give me 1 second. Let me check. Can I speak? Yeah. Uh, permission seems to be there. 1 second.
Hello,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yes. Yep. Tanya, try disconnecting and reconnecting once. If anybody's facing any issues and you're trying to unmute yourself, I just changed the permission in the middle. So just try disconnecting once and reconnecting.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
Tanya.
So if like the question that was asked about AAA games, like the games that get funded. So if like someone is funding a games and somehow the time constraint they gave like isn't met or they're not satisfied with the project, then what happens?
Usually those terms are specifically detailed out as part of the contract itself, right? Because see, think of it like this, right? So you ask somebody to invest, say, $100,000 in your company, right? And you estimate that you'll be able to use this money and build the game in the next 6 months. Yeah. And in that next 6 months, you will basically spend 50% of that money, right? With say a team of 5 people or something like that, right? Some arbitrary number of employees, you will be able to spend $50,000 in 6 months and build the game entirely so that you're ready for launching it. Now you have planned because you know that you have fixed amount of money, $100,000. That's what was the investment, right?
Yeah.
And your estimate was that you'll basically be able to get this out into the market and in front of customers and players in 6 months. And then it might take you 1 month to start generating revenue because imagine there are like in-app purchases or something like that, right? So you'll estimate that people will start playing in 6 months in month seven, and then by the end of month seven, you'll start generating revenue. You will plan out how much of the remaining 50,000 you'll spend on marketing to acquire customers, right? So imagine you're saying, I'm going to start spending $5,000 a month on marketing. Yeah. So now
Yeah.
remember that you are already spending $10,000 a month on developers or the team, right? That expense is still there after 6 months. The team is not going anywhere. But now you're spending an additional 5,000 on marketing, which means that you're spending cumulatively 15,000 a month. So out of the remaining 50,000, you only have 3 months to start making money. Otherwise, your money runs out. So that was the original plan, right? That you'll spend cumulatively $15,000 and get to X number of users, and those X number of users, a small 1% of those users will be paying you, say, $5 a month. And so, how much will you be able to make money by the end of month three, right? Now, when this happens, you have this basic math before the project starts, and then the investor gives you money, and now you say, hey, we are not able to build the game in 6 months. It has already taken us 8 months. Now you're only left with 30,000 in the bank. So now, as a founder, as a CEO, it's your job to decide, because you already know, hey, it's 6 months approaching. We are not able to make the game live. We still have 2-3 months of effort left, right? You already can foresee that. You can see that it's not happening. You're not ready as a team, right? So
Mm.
then it's your call to decide, hey, can we raise more money to extend our runway, basically continue to live longer and not die as a man, as a company? Or can we go live by cutting some features out, because we still have to stay with the 6 months plan, so that we can continue to put some money behind marketing? Otherwise, we'll spend all our money on the development cost and not be able to get anything out of it in terms of getting it to market, getting it to customers, and starting to generate some money from customers, right? So most likely you will end up saying, hey, let's raise a little bit more money from investors. You can go back to your existing investors. If they have confidence that what you're doing is great, they might put in small money more, right? Last time they invested 100,000, you say we need 50,000 more, and because we have to spend 2-3 months extra, and then we'll be good. So you raised a smaller round compared to the previous one, and they might put in money. If they are not comfortable putting in money, which is usually not a good sign, that means they don't have confidence in you. So then you go out to new investors and you repeat the same process that you did last time and try to get more money, right? In case of it's a publisher deal, this is an investor deal, right? In case it's a publisher deal, then there would be terms mentioned out in the contract as to what happens if there is a delay, what happens if you need more investment, what happens if the project gets scratched or cancelled because the quality is not good, blah, 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 right? So because there they're giving you money to just build one specific project on one specific schedule that you have committed to. They've not put in money in the company. They've put in money in the project, right? In case of a publisher. So from that perspective, right, you'll be having like that conversation will come up before they even put in the first amount of money itself. And you'll have to negotiate those terms ahead of time, right? So if you're doing something outrageous, right, a very outrageous, ambitious project, such as landing people on the moon, right? Obviously, you're going to face unseen challenges that you can't predict right now. So, what typically companies end up doing, whether they're doing this outrageous thing or not, right? They say they're raising money for typically 18 months of development work, 18 months to 2 years, right? So that's what the general sort of advice is, that if you're raising money, think about raising money from investors for 18 months to 2 years of development work, right? All expenses included, right? But then try to be as conservative as possible. So you can take that 2 years or 24 months of investment and stretch it to as large amount as possible, right? So try to be as efficient as possible with the money so that you can stretch it to say 30 months or 36 months, right? So that in case worse happens and the projects get delayed, which often does happen, then you don't have to be in a situation where you are begging for more money, because that's not a good situation, remember, right?
Yeah.
You'll not get the best deal because, hey, you're desperate now. If you don't get this money, you might have to shut down the company and kill the project. Yeah.
Yes.
So usually those are the kind of scenarios that you need to sort of think about, and those usually come up as part of contracts before the first round of investment only goes on. Yep. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on this? I think we spent almost a year for talking about the funding. But yeah, good question overall. Anything else on this question? Nope. Okay, perfect. So I think we can pause the funding wala question. I'm also bored of answering this. It's like me just talking. Uh, what else? Other questions? Anyone else? How to find a publisher? I think we talked about this a little bit already, so we'll not cover that one. Anything else, anyone? Because uh, I can see the questions from before, but they're like bunch of questions that have 3 or 4 ratings. So if you guys can just pop into the event chat, just scroll up a little bit and just check if you want to give any more votes, because I think we have some new folks as well. So please go and take a quick look at the event chat, scroll up a little bit, and you'll see a bunch of thumbs up. So just read those questions and drop in a thumbs up. And if you see anything interesting, uh, just give it a vote or something, and we can discuss, because there are so many questions with 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4 rating. Otherwise, I'll end up picking something random. Or you can unmute and talk as well. And I just unmuted you. Thank you. How to raise funds like $2,000 or below that for small projects or ongoing small projects? Yeah, I think one line answer is don't raise funds. Raising funds from external people is always way too much time consuming. Try to just get somebody within the family, somebody that you know of, just to give you that money as a small loan or something. But tell them that, hey, you might not be able to pay it back. So give it only if you're really comfortable with it. But if you want to raise money, do it for a good amount of money. Otherwise, the legal cost and the paperwork cost and the accountant cost, etc., is already enough high that you'll not be able to cover those costs from the amount of money that you raise. So usually, it's not advised to formally raise money from these kind of things. You can do crowdfunding, etc., Kickstarter, etc., as well. But usually, those are also very time consuming. Uh, and a lot of people don't realize how much time consuming Kickstarter is. Yep. Anvesh is asking what would be your top things that someone should not do while starting up in the gaming world? Interesting question. Specifically, not do. Any specific reason why? Just asking about things not to do. Anvesh, do you want to share? A lot of people I know would ask like, "Hey, what are the top things that you would want to do?" Right? But we are being very explicit about the fact things not to do.
Yeah, and that would be because there are a lot of things that we should do, but there would be some few things only that we should not do.
I think there are like if I try to list down the list, we'll probably come up with like an equally long list on both sides of the table. Right? Things that you should do and things you should not do. Because I think it depends on like the scenario, right? Does anybody here has started a game company or started a game project, but they wanted to make it a commercial thing by any chance?
What do you mean by a commercial game?
Commercial as in like you want to actually make real money from it, right? Not just do it as a hobby thing, put it out on the Play Store and tell your friends that, hey, I made this and see it's on the Play Store. But actually try to get real customers, paying
mm,
base.
okay, it's a bit of complicated because I actually tried making a game and I have designed everything, but I don't have a good PC and I use Unreal Engine. So on the other hand, I was not trying to make some money. Instead, I was trying to get an internship to some company, so that I can understand more about game development and all.
It was more of a portfolio project uh,
Yes.
rather than a commercial project, right? So I would in that scenario I'll call it a portfolio project because the purpose of making that was to showcase it to potential employers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else try to do something commercial? so far? No? Okay.
Sir, I think for commercial game, if you trying to build as an independent gamer, independent developer, I think it will take a lot of time plus a lot of research because you probably don't know if that game is going to work. Because I think I have heard many of people who make games, who build games, and they said that many games they don't, like recognized by people.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Okay. Shakti, did you make this Squid Game?
Squid Game? No, no, I did not make the Squid
No,
Game.
no, I was asking Shakti, who's another
Sorry,
member.
sorry, my
No,
bad.
sorry, not Shakti. Shakil. Sorry, my bad. I read it wrong. Shakil, are you available on voice? Okay, you're chatting. Okay, cool. So I think Shakil, who's here on the call as well, he shared one game link in the event chat. Uh, okay, you purchased the code and rescaled it and then published it. Okay, interesting. But it seems like Shakil has made this, or at least repurposed it, if not made it completely. And, now it has like 50K downloads, probably because of the popularity of the Squid Game series. Uh, but yeah, okay. But what is the reason behind it? Why did you do this? Shakil, do you want to share? Or what was the thought process? Nope. Are you on? If you're on voice, then definitely just unmute. Otherwise, you can just drop it in the chat. But yeah, so I think generally speaking as well, right? Like there are a lot of things that you have to keep in mind when uh, trying to do something commercial, or rather, actually, let me go back to Anvesh first. So, Anvesh, when you said while starting up in the gaming world, right? Did you meant like starting a startup, or did you meant just starting a career? Because that's like kind of a little bit ambiguous. I just realized that the question was slightly ambiguous. Anvesh, do you want to share? Otherwise, I'm going to assume
Yeah, starting the career actually.
starting career. Okay. So it was not a startup question. Yeah, so that's what happens when you try to read between the lines and not make things obvious. So never make assumptions. Just ask, uh, like I did. So if you're trying to start a career, then what are the things that you should not do? I think one big mistake that I've seen a lot of people do is that they try to do a lot of different things at the same time, and that fucks them up, right? So what I mean by that is that they will try to uh, learn everything, right? Unreal, Godot, and C++, and Unity, and try to make a lot of different games, etc. Right? So that's one thing that uh, usually what ends up happening is that people end up trying to do a lot of different things, but then not succeeding just because they haven't gone deep into something. So if you really want to think about being more professionally oriented, right, you need equal amount of depth as you need breadth, right? So depth means how well do you know the game engine that you're talking about, right? Are you super comfortable in advanced topics of Unity and Unreal as well? Uh, or like, do you know just the very basic surface level stuff that people can learn from YouTube easily, right? So give me 1 second, guys, just 1 second. Yeah, sorry. So what I was saying was like you need good amount of depth with a little bit of breadth, right? If you want to be successful from a professional standpoint. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen people make a mistake on, where they get a lot of breadth by jumping from one topic to another in every month or so, right? But not going deep enough to showcase their true skill set and level of understanding of a specific topic or a mastery of a specific topic, right? Um, I think somebody was trying to enable voice. So if anybody is facing issues for unmuting themselves, just please disconnect and reconnect once. That should fix because there was a permission issue. Okay. So what I was saying was that you need enough depth. And I've seen folks that come up to me on LinkedIn or in events, etc., and say, "Hey, I'm doing game projects, but I'm not getting any internships or job opportunities. And I know Unreal, I know Unity, I know this, I know that." And the moment I ask them for their projects and code reviews, um, there's nothing there, right? They don't have any good quality projects to showcase at all, right? Why? Because most like what happens is most of the times is that they'll start with say some YouTube video around some Unity project, and usually YouTube videos are small and those projects scope is very limited because at the end of the day they're made for Unity focused audience, or sorry, YouTube focused audience, right? And on YouTube you attract the best audience when the videos are short and funny and whatnot and clickbaity, etc., right? But then through those projects only, you don't get to showcase good quality of depth, right? So for folks who are already going through the full stack program, you guys will be able to relate to this that when you go through the Unity introduction project, right? That's a 4 week long project. It's not a 2 day project or a 4 day project. It's a 4 week long project. And most of the time, people who are joining that program and going through the program get surprised that holy shit, it's gonna be a month long project. I'm gonna be focusing at least 150 hours on just this one project. And they've never done that before because they've never gone that deep into concepts, not never gone that deep into understanding things, how they work, right? So that becomes a big challenge if you're trying to enter in, and probably the biggest mistake. You'll start with Unreal project, get excited about blueprints, and then spend 1 or 2 weeks on it, and then some senior or friend comes up regarding AI. Then you jump into AI. Then in 2 weeks you jump back into Unity. Then in 2 weeks you jump back into Android native development because Kotlin is out and that's the next cool shit, right? So people end up experimenting with too many things. But I'm not saying experimentation is bad, but I'm saying that once you figure out what is it that you really enjoy and love doing, after that you should start building this depth. Don't just still keep hopping, right? And that's the biggest thing that I see a lot of people who are starting professionally make this mistake, right? So if you're a designer, an artist, or for example, an artist, right? There's Canva for web, there's Figma for design, there's you can use Photoshop, etc., right? Tools rarely matter, right? Like pick one tool and stick with it and go deep into it, right? Showcase the depth of your skill set more than the different tools that you know. Tools you can learn any day, right? As long as you know one tool that get the job done. If you know Photoshop, great. If you know Canva, great. That's fine, right? But show me your design skills, show me your creativity and quality in your work. For a designer, same goes for an engineer, right? Show me that depth rather than just that, hey, you know a little bit about how to do basic blueprint stuff. Anybody can learn that over a weekend, right? That's not the special sauce. The special sauce is that how committed are you to stick with something long enough to build a mastery in it, and that's what you know companies are paying for, right? That mastery, right? So that you are able to add value to them through your skills. Okay, does that answer the question?
Perfectly.
Yeah, I think there are a bunch of other things as well, but then Like, if you ask me, like, which one is probably the most important, I'll probably pick this one. Yep. Yep. I think Shakil, you wanted to say something?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Okay. So actually, in Assam, there's too much raining, so that's why my network was gone.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, yeah. So, any specific reason
Uh,
why you took that game, bought it, and then reskinned it and went live with it on Play Store?
Actually, I was publishing apps from last year. So after that, I met a guy and he was selling game source code. And after few days, he said that this Squid game is very trending game. You should publish it. So and then I purchased the code, and after that I reskin them the source code and publish it to the Play Store. And at that time, the download was coming per day like 10 to 20 uh, users per day. Then I realized that I have to do some ASO so that my app got rank in Play Store.
Yeah.
So so I did some ASO. There are lots of Squid Game already published in Play Store, but one keyword is missing. That is all levels, because at that time no other games are including all levels. They are just publishing only one levels with the game. So I published it with all levels, and my app got rank, and daily downloads are coming like 800 to 1200 per day.
Just with that one change.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what Shakil is saying, it's app store optimization basically. So you look at the keywords that people are searching for, and what are the keywords that are listed inside your application, so that Google can figure out or Play Store can figure out whether yours is relevant uh, thing to show up when people search for those keywords. So if you search for all Squid Game, all levels, then his app would show up first versus all the other competitors because he had listed that. So that's just a way to do optimization for App Store / Play Store ranking, basically. So, how much did you buy the template for? Did you end up making any money, etc.? Like, can you share any of that information? And if you don't want to share, that's okay
Yeah.
as well.
No, it's okay, no problem. I can
Yeah.
share. I purchased the code around 1500 rupees,
Hmm.
and after that I invested zero money,
Hmm.
and till now I earned around 30,000 from
Hmm.
this scam only.
And how many total? How many months that the game has been there on the Play Store?
It's already for uh 5 to 6 months already, I think. Let me check it.
Yeah. No, I think that's rough estimate, right? So 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But now is it still getting you 800 downloads a day?
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah, 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 sure.
So it's still giving you around 800 to 1000 new players every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it. So I think that is like something interesting. But the thing here is that, like, even though Squid Game got really popular, there are enough other shows that got really popular. So you can uh, make a quick buck around this, but then it's not a long-term strategy, right?
Okay.
Because right today you were able to figure out that there was a keyword available, but then if 10 other games come up, which also add the all level keyword using the same strategy, right? Now suddenly you might go below in the search results, which means um, you will not be able to make any money from it because you'll not
Uh,
get installs, right?
no, I think there is a policy violation if they copy my title.
No, 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 not the title, right? So if the tag words that you will write, So a lot of people will basically add one character here or there, right? So if you have all level, they might make it all levels, right? So
Maybe.
yeah, people like everybody's trying to game the system, right? Essentially.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what my point here is that like it's not a consistent repeating strategy that relies on a fundamental skill, right?
Okay.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
other people add the similar keywords and tag words, etc., or the search volume for this goes down, right? Then the entire, operation kind of goes down, right? Basically, the revenue stops,
Yeah.
right? So, and at the end of the day, over time, you haven't build a fundamental skill set which will continue to give dividends in the long run, right? So there's no harm in doing that, of course, right? Like you were entrepreneurial in your spirit, so you saw some opportunity and you capitalize on it, and that's perfect, right? That's what every sort of an entrepreneur should do, right? You see an opportunity, you capitalize and you grow from there, right? You learn something and you move on and you grow, right? But from this perspective, right, like will everybody be able to do this and get successful? Will you be able to continue to do this in a repeating basis and get successful?
Uh,
Probably less chances of that happening, right? Have you tried, by the way, have you tried the same strategy on other apps? Because there are other series that are getting popular, etc., as well, right? Every day, every month, every week.
no, I did not try it. Though I tried with some other apps and games. One of them were on the trending also. I mean, they ranked in the charts result. But they are not giving so much revenue for me.
And do you know why that is the case?
Hmm.
No, do you know why they are not giving revenue and this one is giving revenue?
Because this game is popular and user is spending lots of time, and if user spend lots of time, then there are lots of chance to get high impression from ads. So if there
Yeah.
are lots of impression, then lots of revenue.
Okay. Yeah. So I
So
think essentially, like, if it was a sort of a foolproof strategy, right, you would have tried to repeat it over and over again and been infinitely successful, right? Uh, so
yeah.
essentially, that's what um, you can think of it like, is there a fundamental truth to it which you can repeat over and over again? So when I say fundamental truth, let's say if you invest 6 hours into some framework that you learned, right? Now you have a mini project out of it or some module out of it, etc., that is added to your portfolio. Now, that is a fundamental truth because nobody, no matter what, can take that learning away from you, right? So
Yeah.
that is going to continue to pay dividends no matter where you go, what time and space it is. You can take that learning to another platform, another tool, another company, another blah, right? So those things will always pay long-term dividends. Um, but these things can be more sort of entrepreneurial, short learning experiments. But usually they're not really repeatable, successful strategies, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
uh, yeah, so can you guide me? I mean, what is the repetitive success story?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, right? The investment into your time and skill, right? Like that's the long-term successful strategy, right? How do you end
That's
up
why I
growing your?
joined in Outscale.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
I know, but broadly, right? Like even if you were not in outscale, right? Like let's say you were interested in something else, right? Somebody on your point, somebody commented that that's better investment from compared to my portfolio, right? In the event chat,
Mhm.
Anvesh mentioned, right? So, but the thing is that even if you're investing in stock portfolio and you're doing small investments, but like you're learning and growing over time, right? That's also a long-term commitment to not just the portfolio, right? But your act of learning what is good in the market and how should I invest, right? Unless you're just like closing your eyes, randomly shooting a dart and trying to make an investment based on wherever the dart hits, right? Hopefully you're not doing that, Anish. But if you are even doing stock market investment or building a portfolio of stocks, right? Stocks, mutual funds, whatever it might be, right? You're studying the market, you're understanding why something might go up, down, etc., right? And why you should invest, etc., right? You're actually investing in your learning, right? Even though you might be putting in, say, like 100 rupee or a 500 rupee or whatever, right? You're actually investing in your long-term learning of it, right? So
Yeah.
here, if like Shakil, in your example, right? You realize quickly that looking at the keywords is actually the learning that will stay with you long term. Anytime you have to optimize something for Google search or Play Store search, you'll be like, let's check keywords first, because I know that strategy works. If you find a good keyword that is there in the search, but nobody is capturing that keyword, right? So while the profits
Yeah.
from this game would eventually die out because some new fad will come that people are searching for. But the learning is actually not the money or the approach, but it's actually here. The nugget of learning is, hey, check for keywords. Tomorrow you have some other app on Play Store, App Store, Google search results, etc. That's the first thing that's going to click in your mind because that has been a successful formula for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So, mm, I think somebody asked ASU. I think it's not. Is it ASU or is it ASO?
ASO,
Right?
App
ASO.
Store Optimization.
Yeah, it's not ASU. It's ASO, App Store Optimization. Um, so very much like SEO, right? Search engine optimization. It's similar, right? So when somebody searches for it, just that in this case, they're not just searching in Google, they're searching inside uh, the specific app store, right? Either it's in Play Store or
Yeah.
it's in Google, whichever. Sorry,
App Store.
Apple, right? Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Overall, good question and a good random tangent to talk about. Um okay, I think we are about to hit on the time limit as well. Somebody had a design question as well. I forgot who had asked that, but I didn't see it in the chat. What was the design question? Somebody had that? Or a game design related question? Okay, not sure. Anyways, so cool, awesome, guys. I think let's cap off for today. Is there any other questions that you guys want to throw out that we can probably keep a track of for next time? Anything else? No? All right, cool. So I think what we'll do is, anyways, in 30 minutes, we'll be starting the play session. So if you go up to the events channel, you'll see we'll be doing a gaming night. I'll try to join as well. I promise Malar that I'll join today and actually play the crap game for once because he keeps complaining that I never play. Uh, so I'll be there maybe around like 9:15. So hopefully you guys will also join in. It's up above in the event section. So if you just go up, you'll basically be able to see the event listed there. So we'll be playing a community game. Everybody can participate. We join together on voice channel and play the game together. So hopefully it'll be a fun experience. It's usually a very fun experience with 15, 20 people playing the same lobby, killing each other, teaming up, etc. So hopefully you guys would be there as well. But thanks again for joining in for Clan Labs. Um, hopefully for folks who might have joined in for the first time was interesting experience. If there's anything that you want to share in terms of feedback, helpful things that we should probably do from next time, do let me know. Always happy to make improvements as well. But just drop me a comment in the event chat if you liked it, if you didn't like it. What did you like about it today's session? Because today I think we went on a tangent discussing about funding and sort of money aspects. Uh, I'm not sure if that topic is interesting for everybody or not, but definitely let me know in the event chat. Um, how did you like today's Clan Lab? And we'll try to take that feedback in from next time onwards. All right. Perfect, guys. I think let's catch up next time, and hopefully, I'll see you guys at 9 o'clock as well for the gaming session. You can install the crap game or just mention it in the event channel. I'll ask Malar to share the link if you don't have it, but just Google for craft game and you should be able to find it as well. All right, awesome, guys. Well, have a fun rest of the weekend. Hopefully, I'll see you at 9 in half an hour and play the game together as well. All right, take care, guys. Bye.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.